I'm Kalpana Hiralal. I'm an associate professor of history in the Department of History at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. And I'm not sure if you're aware, but the University of KwaZulu-Natal is the merger of the former University of Natal and the University of Durban Westville in 2004. So it has been my home, both in terms of a student and as an academic since 1992. I don't think in the current situation in South Africa, you must be aware of what is happening currently politically in our country. And you know that there is going to be a major ANC conference between the 16th and the 20th of December to elect a new ANC president, the president of the ANC. Now, with regards to the current so-called feminist movement or kind of leaders per se, Pandita Ramabai and Sarojini Naidu were two Indian nationalist figures of India who had a major influence at the beginning of the century on South African women and also South African political landscape. But in the current scenario, I think that, we don't have any kind of major figures per se, because after 1994, once liberation was achieved, a new democracy was instituted, people, and particularly women, began to work together as a collective to try to improve the status of women and to kind of embrace and protect our democracy. So there have been issues that particularly affects women, for example, gender violence, trying to eradicate poverty, and these are some of the education and some of the key issues that we've been trying to address in our country. I think in the current scenario, civil society has been very active. So you have a lot of academics, you have a lot of non-governmental organizations that are trying to educate the public about, on issues, for example, gender violence, gender rights, gender awareness, gender education. So there's no kind of particular individual that I can point to, but I can talk. But what we can say is that there's a collective, that there's an awareness, and there's the role of civil society that plays in trying to improve the lot of women per se. I think in the current situation, okay, let's start in terms of history. Yes, if historically there has been a political challenge because of what the apartheid legacy and discriminatory legislation, etc. But I think in the current situation, we have achieved political liberation. But I think the challenge is more economic liberation in terms of try to eradicate poverty, the issue of land, for example, which is a very debatable issue currently in South Africa. And I think the idea really, and also the issue of trying to make people aware about gender issues. It's about educating them on these particular issues. So there are still a lot of people, for example, in South Africa that live in poverty. So you can't really, some people argue that you can't really say you're free when you're still kind of living in poverty. So you need that kind of economic liberation as well. So I think the current challenge is more to particularly economic liberation. But I'd like to expand on this in that what I refer to is rather saying that to free many people in South Africa of poverty, men and women, and also access to education, men and women, particularly those who are really, really poor, to provide them with those kind of funds to improve their homes, their lot, their families, etc. And I think that is the current challenge that's currently facing South Africa.